Uh, so I'm good to go.
Yes.
Thank you so much for inviting me for this interesting event that you're organizing. Let me just introduce myself. I'm a university professor for UNIR and also an associate director for the master's degree in educational innovation. And also PhD student, well, just for 20 more days because I'm about to defend my doctoral dissertation next month. So I just want to share with you a very brief summary of what has been my doctoral study, which is about detecting those best practices for nurturing global competence. Uh, Let me introduce the topic. Global competence recently has become a very widely interesting topic, has been interested so many scholars around the world because nowadays, and it looks so necessary to equip our students or the individuals that have to strive in the new world that we have to face this ambiguous, fast-pacing world that we have to face, facing so many unexpected events in our daily lives as professionals or individuals. So, global competence, let me offer you the official definition from OECD, which means this capacity to examine local, global, and intercultural issues to engage in open, appropriate, and effective interactions with people from different cultures and to act for collective well-being and sustainable development. In brief, it will be what we need to strive in such unexpected and sometimes a bit challenging environments in which we have to be working and living. So I wanted to introduce this concept and also the four dimensions that it is based on, which is investigating the world. It means that if we are global competent, we should be able to be aware of the topics that affect our lives that have a global impact, and we have to be informed and ready to know what's happening around us, not only in the global scope, but also on the things that impact our lives in our very local communities. Also, to be able to recognize the different perspectives from people coming from very different origins, but not only in a cultural dimension, I would say, but also in very different perspectives coming from, for example, someone having different capacities or having this diversity in terms of their their abilities, sometimes for working or students. It means that I'm aware that, of course, I have my own perspective, but it is just one of the many different perspectives that each of every individual has. And I should be able to recognize this, to be aware of this, and to have a tolerance attitude towards different perspectives. Communication of ideas and collaboration let's say, as a wider idea of just communicating, but also be willing and be ready to be collaborating together is the only means of achieving these goals in terms of solving the sustainable development goals that we have ahead, facing all the different problems that we have is just through collaborations and having these networks of people working together and being ready for communicating effectively and working together effectively as well. And also another dimension in this area will be the willingness to take action, not only to understand what is happening around, to collaborate together, but also to know that I have my responsible citizenship means that I have to be willing to involve in everything that is happening around me. That it is not something that I'm not involved with, even if I think it is something global, because every global topic has a local impact. So the willingness to take action, to take a step forward, and to be ready to solve the problems that we have, it's something very, very important when it comes to this concept of global competence. So we are already familiar with the concept. I mean, a lot of scholars have been researching about it. It has been defined, explored, and even assessed by PISA exams in beginning in 2018, and again uh, to this year in late spring in 2022. It has been tested again, so we have results and quite a few information about what it means. But my study wants to go a step beyond. I mean, I'm not exploring again and again the concept, but rather than that, trying to search for how to nurture this global competence. We know what it is. We know that it is important. We know that we want our students to be global competent, to be able to face what is waiting for them. But how we do that? Schools are wondering, okay, I know this, but sometimes I lack the examples, I lack the practices. So how to do that, and taking this global competence to my classrooms every day. So this study tries to research that, to go deep into that. So serving some ideas, some good examples, a kind of manual to how to do that, okay? So, whenever we are trying to analyze what is happening in an educational center, we need a model. In order to do a systematic research, we cannot just simply, okay, let's go around, have some hints, and then write just a report. We need a model to make sure that we are doing a scientific process in our research. So we need this model explaining what is happening in the centers and how we can introduce these good practices in terms of nurturing this global competence. But what happens is that when we are searching for this model, we find that even if it's quite familiar, we are in the scholar community, we're already quite familiar with the term. We still lack that model for researching that. So the first step was providing that model. How we did that? Okay, we are not taking a model just out of the blue. We are basing on system models we can serve as a good starting point in the sense. So we are starting from the CCR model, which means classroom creative research was developed by the European Commission 10 years ago. So, well, maybe we will need CCR 2.0 by this time, but well, it's a good starting point, as we are saying. This model has the great advantage that analyzes the center in a 360 approach. So it covers in 8 axes, which are called key elements: infrastructure, content and curricula, assessment, learning practices, teaching practices, organization, leadership and values, and connectedness. We could argue that some things are missing, but it's not the aim of this presentation. But well, it's, as I said, a good starting point, because apart from these 8 main axes, we have another 28 key elements that are associated with these models. So you can find Some of them are very closely connected to that X, but apart from that, it's also connected to other ones. So there's always this interconnection in which if you're affecting any of these 28 key elements, you're also affecting other elements. So there's this interconnectedness of what it means affecting one of these key elements, affecting any other part of the organization itself. So this is one of the starting points. And of course, the other starting point is this concept of global competence that I just described with these 4 dimensions that we are connecting, okay? So we are trying to merge both philosophies in just one model. It means that we are taking one model, analyzing thoroughly the center, the educational center, the school, where it's happening, where are the different relationships happening between them, and the conceptual idea of what it means global competence, and merging it. And again, I'm not going deep into this, how it is based, but based on literature, the theoretical links has been established and justified. We came up with this InnoGlobal, which is the name that we decided for it, InnoGlobal model. So it's an ad hoc model that has developed in this doctoral study, and it tries to serve as the main theoretical idea in which we can be working in order to analyze the center and how it is doing in terms of global competence, how we can analyze the different relationships, as I said, the different practices, how, for example, the teaching practices are developed inside of the classroom, how the leadership board is setting the scene and favor and fostering why everything is happening the way it is happening, how teachers are considered, etc. I will go a bit deeper into that. So, as I said, it combines 2 models, one more practical, let's say, and the other one more conceptual, as the one from Boyce, Mansilla, and Jackson. So trying to set this framework in order to be able to work with actual schools that want to be analyzed in that sense, okay? So as I said, the connections are based on evidence, set on the literature, so everything is correctly justified, okay? So once we have the model, we are going into this methodology, how we are doing that. This is, what we want to do is to discover what are these good practices and try to just describe them, knowing why they are working good, and just describing some of these practices and just trying to adapt them to other contexts, for example, other educational systems, other locations, for example. So, because they are serving as this manual of good practices, the same as when we are taking a book, which are giving us some hints, okay? So we want to discover these teaching and organizational practices, both strategic and also operational, that favor what is the climate, what is the environment in the school, so really the students are developing their own global competence, okay? So, of course, it is a qualitative study. It is a holistic case study. It's based on a school that is really working very, very good in these terms. We are looking, as we said before, we already know what the term is, what the main concept is. And what we are looking here is how it is made, why it is made, and we are going a bit deeper in that. This InnoGlobal model is serving the framework for doing this study, and also very, very importantly, to analyze these results in the in the light of this framework. And of course, this study has been deeply affected by the pandemic. The restrictions, well, it affected the way the data was collected and the possibility to even involve more cases in the study. But let me present a bit for a matter of confidentiality. I cannot disclosure. Sorry, I cannot disclose the name of the school, but it is a private school following the International Baccalaureate program. I guess we are all familiar with this system, with all the 4 programs settled in the school. It is located in a big European city, having about 1,200 students, 170 teachers, and combining about 60 nationalities, 60 different nationalities, all living peacefully and respectfully together. So we know that if the climate, if the atmosphere is so good and everything is going smoothly and the results of the students are good and the feeling of the families involved is good, it means that things are going very well, practices are good, so we can focus on this idea and trying to, well, to learn a bit about what they're doing. As we say, in this intense and intercultural environment that is being lived in this school, okay? So the instruments that have been used is, for, of course, the observations, the workarounds in the school. When we had the opportunity to came into the school, knowing about these restrictions that I just mentioned because of COVID-19. We could observe certain different locations of the school inside of the classrooms, the library, for example, the playgrounds, how the kids were interacting when with each other. We also have 15 personal interviews, deep interviews of about 1 hour of duration, following a semi-structure, following a questionnaire, but allowing some freedom to the interviews to give their insights. And also 5 focus group with both families, former students, and also teachers, and of course, members of the leadership board, all giving their insights about what we were questioning very thoroughly, following, as we say, the inner-global model. Then the transcript were analyzed with Atlas TI, and based on this model, having decoding with the 28 building blocks coming from the CCR model, and also 57 subcodes coming out from these 28 building blocks, okay? So the results, let me just present some of the results as main insights. Teaching as inquiry, it's one of the things, not really from the school, but rather than that from the International Baccalaureate system, because it's one of the key pillars, trying to get always the students as researchers. Of course, you know that the International Baccalaureate organizes the different topics that they have to cover in these units of inquiry. And it is really meaningful to do that. And special situations such as fostering this autonomous researching, especially at the end of the stages, at the end of the PYP, at the end of the MYP, of course, at the diploma program as well. There's always these opportunities in which the student has to conduct an autonomous research. And that means that it is very, very interconnected with this first dimension that I just mentioned some minutes ago about investigating the world and being familiar with all these topics, okay? Um, uh, treating and having the teachers as the main assets. I'm putting assets because I don't like mentioning people as assets, but the school knows that the real difference is made by their teaching body. So they put a significant effort to make them feel at home, to make them feel that they belong to to the organization, and to make sure that the background makes them globally competent. It's very difficult to nurture or to try to develop global competence the if the guide, in this sense, the teacher, is not global competent in the beginning. So the school really fosters and encourages the collaboration among teachers and this feeling of them feeling good in the community. Diversity as a motto, it means that the school sizes this environment, this very rich intercultural environment, because sometimes learning from example is the best way to learn. There are so many things that doesn't have to be taught if you live them, if you have to collaborate with people coming from very different parts of the world, if you're living and working all the day, every day with people with, for example, different languages, if your friends are coming from different environments and they show you their foods or their habits, or you visit their houses and different things are being there, they have different habits. So it is something very, very natural, and kids and young people can really live it in a very natural way, learning this recognition of perspectives, because it's not something that they have to force, because it's so natural around them. The school also makes a solid investment in all these maker spaces and the maker culture in order to foster these STEAM vocations, and trying to get the students learning by doing, manipulating, making their own tryings, and always looking not really for teaching, but also trying to experiment in a very experiential learning. Of course, the assessment has to go along with the new look at learning. It will be no point in having a very traditional assessment at the end, just summative, but we have to introduce formative assessment, and in very creative way. For example, the three-way conference, in which the student meets the teacher and also the parents, and they have to explain what they have been done, what they do think they are their strengths, or maybe the points that they have to be working on, where there's more space for improvement. There's a way of going into self-assessment and to reflect upon what has been done, their progress in their own learning. Personalized learning, of course, knowing that every student is unique, and recognizing these different perspectives and different personalities. They work on multiple intelligence and have to take the full potential out of every single student. Okay, so they work closely in this look for a personalized learning. Of course, the leadership has to be fostering all this happening around the world. So we are finding a distributed leadership, allowing to take the lead in different individual projects, and basing on global awareness, understanding, tolerance, and I think they are doing a great job managing this very diverse community. And finally, in the last part of the global competence, the encouraging of action taking, of course, is it encouraged not only from the school, but again, from the IB perspective, through programs like CAS, and always saying, okay, you have to take the lead, to fight for what you believe, and to be trying to make a better world for all of us. So the conclusions, I think I'm going a bit out of my time, so sorry. IB programs have at their core this nurturing of global competence. This educational system is very good in this term, but it's not enough. I mean, even if we are not following, if a school is not following this educational system, still there are so many things that they can do. And again, it's something that is giving some starting point, but again, it's not enough. So learning from sample in this respectful, diverse environment is very, very good. So trying to foster this kind of atmosphere and sizing them is very interesting for the kids. And of course, the leadership approach is key in setting all those things and fostering them to happen. The perspective will include broadening this study, including more schools without the COVID-19 restrictions, and testing widely this model and trying to seek for the points of improvement that it may have. So thank you so much. Again, my apologies for going out of my time, and thank you again so much.
Thank you very much, Eva, for joining us.